Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Larry with Packmaster Dog Training here. Um, let's talk about a subject that I've been asked to speak about by several dog trainers. And it's one of the biggest issues I get contacted on by other professional trainers. I get contacted a lot on aggression, different kinds of aggression, because everyone knows I work with a lot of aggression cases. But a little deeper and a little more in depth that people want information on is how I deal with dog on dog aggression in the same home. Well, unfortunately, I deal with that quite a bit, and it sucks. There's no doubt about it. It's never a good situation, and dealing with true aggression is difficult enough. But dealing with dog on dog aggression in the same home is extremely difficult. I mean, it's really difficult. And in my experience, and I've done it for a long time, I've had great success with it, but not because of the things that I'm doing. It takes 100% commitment on the owners, period. There's no other way to do it. There's no other way to do it. It has to be with committed owners. And so this isn't a how-to. There is no how to fix this problem, okay? Because every situation is different. Every owner's lifestyle is different. Every dog is different. Every pair of dogs is different. So I look at each case on a case-by-case basis, and it's always a different story. So what I'll do is I'll give you a couple of examples. I'll use 2 or 3 examples of specific cases, and all I could do is tell you what I did. And so maybe that will help someone who's struggling with that right now, okay? Um, let's talk about a case I did a while back. It was as difficult as it gets. And what I told the owner was, I don't know if I've ever had a case this difficult, and here's why. I get a call from a woman out in Fort Campbell, Kentucky, out on the Army base. Um, I normally don't go out that way. Well, I don't go anywhere anymore. I don't do in-home house calls. People come to me. But at the time, I used to do in-home training in the Nashville area. This was out in an area where I didn't travel. But her husband was a soldier, and he was deployed. And so I said I would go out there, because if I could help a soldier, I'm going to do it, period. Always have. Um, so I go out there. I meet this young lady, and she had 2 Rottweiler mixes, 2 male Rottweiler mixes, and it wasn't one of these cases where, the dogs would be fine and then they would get into a fight, and then they'd go back to be. No, it was these dogs wanted to kill each other at just seeing each other. At sight of each other, they wanted to kill each other. It was bad. And I went out there, and, I'm always very honest with people, and I was honest with her. And she's this little tiny thing. I mean, she must have weighed 100 pounds. She's by herself, and she's got these 2 big, powerful dogs that want to kill each other. And I was very honest with her. I told her I will do anything I can to help, but it will be unbelievably difficult, just for the fact that the severity was so bad of the aggression in both dogs, and that she was by herself. That's what made it difficult. She didn't have any help. She didn't have any help. And what she told me right from the start, she said, I will do anything I have to do. And she was home. She was home full time. So she was with the dogs all the time. And she was balls to the wall right from the start. She said, tell me what to do and I will do it. So I did. And what we did the first day I met her is, like I do with every dog, I worked the dog separately. So I started training one dog. We took the dog outside. We went over different handling things and what I wanted to see done in the home. And I started conditioning to the e-collar like I do every other dog with one dog. When that dog had enough, and I wanted to give that dog a rest, we put that dog in a crate, we took the other dog out, and I worked with that dog. But meanwhile, of course, like I do with all my clients, I'm working with the owner. I'm teaching her what she's going to need to do for the next week. Okay, over and over and over what I need to do, just with the obedience and the e-collar conditioning, all that kind of stuff, the technical stuff. Now, where the difficulty was going to lie was in the home, what she had to do in the home. And it was pretty extreme. Basically, when one dog was out, the other dog was crated. When that dog was out, the other dog was crated, and it was constant rotation. The dogs were in the same room, if I remember correctly, but it was constant rotation, and she was to work the dogs each several times a day. That was it. I mean, it was that simple, that basic. It was a matter of her changing everything she did in the home. Because remember, I talk about this all the time, guys. These problems are created and fixed with what you do in the home. With what you do in the home. That's where this behavior comes from. Okay? So if you allow your dogs to be an asshole a little bit inside the home, your dogs will be an asshole a lot outside of the home. Believe me. So if you think you can let your dogs get away with shit inside the home, and then you're going to have a dog respond to you all the time when you're out of the home around real distractions, you're kidding yourself. It's not going to happen. Okay? You have to create what you want in the home, period. So we did the first lesson. I spent a couple hours there. I did everything I can. I talked to her. She was real sincere about doing this. And I kid you not, by the end of the first week, this is no bullshit. No bullshit. Her name's Amanda. I hope Amanda watches this. I'll send it to her. She sends me a picture towards the end of the first week. I didn't even go out there for the second lesson yet. She sends me a picture, and she's with both dogs, and they're hanging out together, and she's out walking them, and they're together. There's like no tension, no nothing. I was flabbergasted. I couldn't believe my eyes, because I didn't know if we were going to be able to get this done. I knew it was a long shot because of her circumstances. Well, this young lady was she was kick-ass and did what had to be done, and she did it. She wasn't taking no for an answer. Okay? So once again, little Miss Amanda was the type of owner that said, I'm not losing one of these dogs or both of these dogs. I'm fixing it. And she did. All she did was follow my instructions. I didn't fix those dogs. She did. I literally had very little to do with that. I gave her some information and she ran with it. Okay. Now, the second case, which was really difficult, you guys saw this. I did a couple of videos with these dogs. We'll talk about Duke and Herc, the two pit bull mixes. A little bit different. They could be around each other at times and everything could be fine. And then it was all out, balls to the wall fights. And the fights were pretty brutal. And those dogs came to me with staples in their neck. The fights were very, very serious. Okay. Very serious. What was going to be difficult with this case was the husband, the man of the house, was gone a lot. He traveled a lot. And these fights took place quite a bit when he was gone. And the woman of the house would be alone. And my biggest hurdle here was going to be working with her, because it was traumatic on her. She was suffering a little bit, and she was scared, and she was nervous, as anyone would be, including myself. Any man, any woman that sees that in person, it's brutal. It's a scary thing, and it's very difficult to stop. And if you're someone by yourself trying to break up two dogs like that, man, it's nearly impossible. Okay, so that was going to be a big hurdle for me. I had to take care of that. So I don't take both dogs at the same time. All right. I told them, bring me one dog, and I'm going to work with that dog for 2 weeks. And then I would send that dog home, and they would do their homework. And then I would take the other dog, and so on. Okay. So they brought me Herc. Herc was the black and white pit bull. I did an e-collar session with him. You saw the first session with Herc. Herc did very well with the obedience. He took to it fantastic. He was a really nice dog. I liked Herc a lot. And what happened that evening is when I put Herc in his crate, he suffered. He suffered brutally. Like, he suffered. I don't know if it was separation anxiety or more, you have dogs that have serious phobia of just being crated. Well, anyway, it was bad. It was so bad. I've never done this in all the years I'm training dogs. I called the owners and I said, you need to come get him. I can't keep him here. Because if I kept him here, there was a chance he would hurt himself. He was laying in 2 inches of drool, and he broke my crates, and he was hurting himself. It was bad. It was severe. And I will never put a dog through stress. When a dog comes here, I want it to be as stress-free as possible. And he was suffering. So I had no choice but to call the owner and tell him, come get the dog. I can't do it. And what I did from there was I said, bring me the other dog. So he brought me Duke. And So what I did was I had those owners, Chris and Anna, that is, I told them what to do with Herc on their end. We had to change things in the home. We had to get him okay with being crated. The first thing I did with them was I had them implement the straw method in the crate, which I picked up from Mark Goldberg. Thank you, Mark. I always give credit where credit is due, and I've helped so many dogs with that. And you'll have to look it up. I'm not going to explain that now, but I had them use the straw method, which I learned from Mark. Well, Mark is a wealth of knowledge in the pet dog community. Really, really tons of experience and loads of good information. So thanks again, Mark. Appreciate it. So we had him implement that, and we took it real slow, and I had them doing a lot of different things with him, obedience-wise and behavioral in the house. So they were working with Herc on their end, and they said he was making progress. In the meanwhile, I had Duke here. Duke was completely opposite of Herc. Duke was a little slower with the obedience, and he liked being in his crate. That was his safe place. He did not want to leave. He wanted to be in there. Completely opposite. So I started working Duke. I started conditioning with the e-collar, doing all the normal stuff. I don't do anything different with aggression cases, guys, whether it's human aggression or dog on dog aggression. You know, if I have to do something different, I do. Or normally it's pretty much standard. I made a video the first time with using Bruno, my Rottweiler, and it was horrible. Oh my goodness. I know someone who's going to agree with that. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. But it was bad. I was so off my game. It's like I never trained a dog before. Bruno was off his game, which had never happened in all the years he was helping me. It was bad. He wasn't listening to me. He was a little too pushy, and man, it was a really bad video. I almost didn't post it, but I'd be kind of hypocritical because I always tell people you got to post everything, and it was bad, and I posted it, and some people ripped it, and you should do this. You know, you have all the experts out there, but whatever. And when you put stuff out there, you're going to get that, okay? So I continue with the training, and then what happened a couple of days into it was pretty bad, pretty scary, but pretty good also. I took Duke for a walk. Me and Renzo, my little boy, who was 5 at the time, I think, we took him for a walk through our neighborhood. And a couple of houses up from me, the people there have a big German Shepherd, and I think it's a Chow mix. And they're pretty wild when they see a dog. You know, there's a lot of reactivity there. So we were walking down the street, and 2 of their kids were out walking those dogs. And both girls were pretty young. And the one that had the Chow mix was very young. I'm talking about like a 5-year-old girl. And these dogs started going ape shit. And I knew it was coming. I knew it was going to happen. Well, that Chow mix broke away from that little girl, and he came for us. He came hard, and he had serious intentions. Now, my instinct was, I don't know if he's going for my little boy or if he's going for the dog. Either way, my first priority, I have to protect my son. At all means, I have to protect my son, but I also have to protect that dog. I have someone trusting me with their dog. Now, here's a dog that wants to kill other dogs. He's here for dog fighting, and I got a dog coming wanting to fight, and it was scary. So what happened was, in my left arm, I had Duke in my left hand, the leash. I kind of put him behind me, stepped in front of him, stepped in front of Renzo, and I wound up beating the snot out of that Chow. I must have kicked that dog, 15 times in the side, and as he kept coming, I had to keep fighting him off, and I kicked him as hard as I could, and I became a fucking savage. I had to protect my son, and I had to protect that dog, and it was scary. I was really shaken up, I really was. Well, the girls got there, and the dog gave up after a while. They were able to get him out of there. I yelled and screamed at the kids a little, which I shouldn't have, and when they were gone, I was shaken. I was pretty scared. But the one thing I noticed, first I checked on Renzo because it was pretty traumatic. I looked at him. I said, buddy, I said, you okay? He looked at me and goes, wow. He said, you were amazing. So I knew he was okay, And then I looked at Duke, and you know what? You know what I realized? If Duke wanted to get to that dog, I couldn't stop him. I can't fight the dog and hold him it would have been ugly, But that dog stood behind me and let me do what it took. And so That's the moment where things really changed. I called the owner right after that. I told him what happened because I tell people everything, the good and the bad. And that dog realized at that moment he didn't have to worry about anything. I was going to take care of him. And training got real better really fast, you know. And I did a video later on with Duke and Bruno again, and it was much better. You saw what we normally look like. Okay, so after those couple of weeks were up, now it was time to integrate Duke and Herc together again and spend some time with Chris and Anna, the owners. Okay, so they came here with Herc. I did a private session with the owners, working with Herc, teaching them more, going over things, and then it was time to introduce the dogs. So the way I introduced the dogs was this. There's a few people out there that do, you know, large field socialization groups. I know Jason Vasconi is one of them out in Texas that I hear does a phenomenal job. You know, you have people who do socialization groups indoors. Chad Mackin's one of them. Very, very beneficial for dogs. If you guys are in those areas, do it. So what I did was first we just went for a walk. I handled both dogs. One dog was on my left, one was on the right, and we went for a long walk through my neighborhood. Okay, we start building that bond, showing them that control, and just bonding together, just doing what comes naturally to dogs, and that's walking. And then what I did was we went out to a large open field, and I released both. You know, no leashes. They had e-collars on, and we just moved. We walked. We did what did. Sorry if there's a little break there. My phone cut out for a second. I had to clear some space. But we did what those folks would do in a large field socialization group. We had several acres, and we just walked, and the dogs moved, and I kept an eye on them, and everything was good. You know, we practiced calling them to us here and there. A couple of times they went and they wanted to sniff the same thing, and I kept a good eye on them, you know, and there was no tension. It was fine. Everything was good. We did that for a while. We talked. I gave very strict orders to the owners and told them what needed to be done to continue this, because you don't fix that, guys. You know, that's never completely fixed. You know, you could do a wonderful job with that, and you can stop it for good if you're really diligent about it. And so I sent them home with their homework. This is what you have to do every day, and there is no slacking on this, all right? And I kept in touch for a little while, and everything was going fine. The dogs hadn't had any incidents. They were taking the dogs on the walk off leash in neighborhoods with real distractions. That was really big. I was really proud of them for that. They were confident. There was no issues. And then I didn't hear from them for a very long time. And someone asked about them. Hey, how are those dogs doing? I said, well, let me check. And I sent Chris a text or an email. I say, hey, how is everything going? And then he sends me pictures of the dogs laying in the bed together, in the same bed, laying in the same crate together. He said it's been wonderful. You know, they go out for walks. They're off leash. They haven't had any incidents. I posted a text that Chris sent me the other day. He sent me a text out of the blue. You know, it started off like dude in you know, with quotations or parentheses, whatever, like excited. And what he said was he opened the door to let Duke out at night, and there was a possum right there 5 feet away. And Duke pounced on the possum, and he said, Duke, come. He called the dog, and he said he got off the possum and came back to him, nothing. There was no e-collar, no nothing. And I think his exact words were fucking amazing. I'm so proud. And that's great. So that's what we did with that case, you know. So let me explain something to you guys. I had part of that. There's no doubt about it. I provided the knowledge. But here you have three people. Chris and Anna, the husband and wife with Duke and Herc, and you have Amanda with the two Rottweilers. These people are the best of the best. The best of the best, and I'm so proud of them. What they did is freaking ridiculous, because most people would not have put the time and effort into what it took. Most people would have lost those dogs. There's no doubt about it. But they were determined. They said, we want to keep these dogs. Show us what to do, and we'll do it. And they did it. They're freaking rock stars. You know, not everyone has that capability or desire. And so the reason why I look like such a freaking genius with dogs like that is I'm not. I'm not. Where I put my effort with difficult dogs is with the owners. If I can't change them, I can't fix the dog, okay? Those changes are permanent. I consider that a success when either Duke or Herc passes away many years from now, and Chris and Anna say we never had another incident. That's when I consider that successful. Same thing with Amanda. All right. Um, that's what it took. That's what we did. We'll talk about. I'll give you one other case. I did a video of it, so you guys can check. It's one of the first videos I ever did. It's titled something like "Bruno helps aggressive German Shepherd," something like that. So here we had a German Shepherd, was dog aggressive. Now, if you watch the video, if I was to watch the video and then I say that's not really an aggressive dog, it's a reactive dog, but it didn't look to be very aggressive. But I will say this. The dog killed a couple of smaller dogs. A couple, not just one, had killed a couple of dogs. And basically, it killed them because, to me, the dog wasn't aggressive. It was reactive, but the reactivity was allowed, and it escalated, and it never stopped. So if you go back and watch that video, you'll see I use Bruno. You see the dog is very reactive on the leash. There's a woman holding the dog. I go over, I put a dominant dog collar on the German Shepherd. I think it was a German Shepherd mix, actually. I only use dominant dog collars with aggression cases. I won't use anything else, period. So I put a dominant dog collar on the dog. I start walking away with the dog. I have Bruno on a place or sitting away from me. And then once I start walking up the street, I call Bruno over to me. And you see the dog tries to go at him a couple of times, half-ass attempts. And I just pull up on the dominant dog collar and I continue walking. And he goes after the dog, goes after Bruno a little bit, and I pull up on the dog, and the dog's choking a little, and then he stops, and I release, and I continue walking. And then I stop, and I'm watching the dog, And one time, the dog makes a little move. If I remember correctly, he went to put her head or his head over Bruno, and I corrected that. And the dog stopped. And then right after that, the dog just became normal, and they sniffed each other, and it was over. That wasn't a lesson. That was just, I used to do in-home demonstrations. I don't do that anymore. I don't have to, thank God. I hated it. But that was just to see what kind of progress I can make with this dog in a couple of minutes. Now, to me, that's really not a truly aggressive dog, but he had killed dogs before. That dog had killed dogs because he was allowed to. It was that simple, okay? He was allowed to. Nothing was ever done to stop the dog. The reason these people called me was the woman wanted to run a 5K, and it was a 5K that was going to allow dogs. She wanted this dog to run in a 5K around other dogs. She said, "Can it be done?" I said, "Yes, but you have to put in some work." She said, "Okay, I'll do it." Well, we did 1 or 2 lessons before that 5K, and it was fine. There was no issues whatsoever. It was a very easy case. Very, very easy. But that dog had also already been away to another trainer. And what the trainer did, where a lot of people do, is when the dog showed some aggression, they whacked the hell out of the dog with an e-collar. They just corrected the dog on a high level with the e-collar. I'm not saying you can't correct aggression, guys, but that's not dog training. I've never seen a dog fix like that. If that was the case, no one would need a dog trainer. You could just do it yourselves. You understand? So we put that dog in a complete program just for a couple of lessons, and it was fine. All right. So these are just a couple of examples because people keep asking questions. I get questions from dog trainers. I have these dogs, they're killing each other in the house. What the hell do I do? You can't explain that. It's very difficult. So I just give you a couple of cases here on different incidents. The last one wasn't, dog on dog aggression in the home, but there was an issue there because family members had dogs. And it was, if I remember correctly, it was family members whose dogs were killed. All right. So fixing any kind of aggression, guys, it just got to be part of an overall program. And if you have more questions or specific types of cases that you want to talk about, I don't know if this helps anyone. I get asked to do it, so I do it. If this is useless, so be it. I won't do it anymore. So if you do like it, let me know. Like the video, share it, do what you got to do. Send me the questions of what you want to talk about again, and we'll see if we can help someone. All right. And one more time, Amanda, Chris, Anna, you guys are the best of the best, man. And I'm so proud of you guys. You had cases that are as difficult as they come, and you kicked its ass. Great job. You saved 4 dogs in the process. Good for you. Thanks, guys. Peace.